Time now to move on to our next panelist, and we can welcome Sarah Cox, who is Head of Marketing at Volkswagen Passenger Cars. She's a proud brand guardian with a passion for people and for making a difference, all while having fun along the way. Having spent her entire working life in the automotive industry, she values integrity, curiosity, and creativity, qualities which she has held across her varied career in sales operations, after sales, training academy, marketing, and corporate social responsibility. And again, do remember to submit your questions for Sarah, who I'm delighted to say is joining us now. Thank you, Sarah, and over to you.
Thanks, Rachel. It's great to be here, like everybody else said. I think, yeah, I'm also a proud EV driver, as you would expect, working for Volkswagen. But I definitely feel really passionate, and it was one of the big motivations for me to take this role when I joined Volkswagen last year. I think there's plenty that the car manufacturers have to do in helping the consumers make the switch to electric vehicles. And that's not only about bringing the products to the market that are affordable, but it's also very much about making the owning and the driving of them as easy as possible as well. And starting to tackle some of the blockers that are preventing many consumers, considering the switch or making the switch as well. If we talk about the product, a couple of the guys have already alluded to it, it's moving at great speed already. And there's so many new models coming to market. And if I talk about Volkswagen for a moment, we launched the ID3, the ID4 and the ID4 GTX since last September. And only this week, we previewed 2 more models at the Munich Motor Show, including the ID Life concept. And why that's important is that one will be a smaller car segment, a lower price point around 20,000 euros. And that will help us with that affordability piece, which is really important, again, to help more consumers make that switch into electric vehicles. And of course, there'll be loads more models to come from us as well. I mean, ultimately, we are building an electric vehicle lineup that is every bit as comprehensive as the traditional ICE range that we have at the moment. And it's not just obviously about Volkswagen. The fact that our competitors are also launching so many new EVs, that really actually helps us to reach those reluctant consumers. I guess put simply, the more cars that are available on the market and the more visible they are, whether that's in communications and on the roads, the more likely it is that potential customers are going to be reassured that electric vehicles are the norm and they are the mainstream and here to stay. I think one of the other things that's really important to help us with the consumer switchover is third-party advocacy. That plays a really important role. One way of doing that is through awards and great reviews, because they provide reassurance and they're really important in the consumer buying purchase process. Again, if I use the ID3, for example, we've won 12 major accolades in the UK alone for that one model in the last year. To name a couple, Game Changer of the Year from Top Gear, GQ called it the best family car, and Auto Express best small company car. But what you'll notice about those and why it's important is none of those awards have the word electric in the title. The ID3 is going up against its traditional ICE competitors. And I think that's a sort of recognition that really helps, again, convince the sort of more skeptical people that actually, these cars are as good, if not better. There's, of course, still more fears around, what people don't know. It's the uncertainty potentially around what you don't know that creates these barriers, and sometimes these crazy urban myths, which just simply aren't true. Things like, the battery will drain rapidly if you're stuck in a major traffic jam. I think collectively, we have a responsibility within the automotive sector to dispel these myths and provide accurate information at every touch point a consumer has. And one very powerful method of convincing those people that are less sure is certainly showing real life experience of the vehicles from genuine owners. And that's something that we've used that approach through our social media and some content on our websites. And actually, I really enjoy this sort of content as a marketeer, showing real customers. We've done some films with ID3 owners, for example, and none of these guys were given a script. It was purely about them talking to the camera, and that gives you real, authentic, content where these customers are genuinely talking about how their EV ownership has changed their lives and why they won't go back. We've also seen our own employees do that as well. So more and more people are sharing their own EV ownership experiences on things like LinkedIn, which is great from an influential audience point of view, but also helps you sort of get into topics like range anxiety and charging worries. And then, of course, we work really closely with the media. So our PR teams are ensuring that key journalists have, all the information they need, create great content, but in-depth reviews and comparison tests are really important. We know, again, that's a really important part of the consumer journey for their buying considerations, along with the digital tools that you might find on the websites as well. And then, obviously, we've talked about charging quite a lot, and as Richard said, we're really proud to be having a partnership with BP as well. We also have a partnership with Tesco since 2018, where 400 7-kilowatt quad point charging bays have been installed at the Tesco stores across the UK, and they are free for any car brand owner to use. And I think what's important, with both of those partnerships is this is Volkswagen's. This is us supporting the whole EV ownership experience and breaking down another one of those barriers to purchase around that charging accessibility. And in particular, if people don't have charging at home, these are great solutions for them. And we're not alone, of course. Again, we've touched on it in the UK and at a European level. There are many other manufacturers also investing in partnerships with charging organisations to help speed up that infrastructure implementation and increase the accessibility for everybody. I think seeing and driving the cars is obviously a great way to give consumers that confidence to make the switch to electric vehicles. And that's why we like to be present at some of the key experiential events as well. So we were at the Fully Charged Live event last weekend, and Goodwood Festival of Speed had an electric avenue in the summer, and we were there. And we're also running our own ride and drive event with fleet customers, for example, as well. So it's great to get people behind the wheels and just try the product for yourself. And then another different angle as well is getting cars to subscription providers, so such as Onto. It's a great way of reaching those consumers that are not necessarily ready to fully purchase, to make that commitment. But with no strings attached, customers can get into an electric vehicle for an extended period of time and really get to live with it and understand how EV can fit into their life. And I genuinely think those sorts of models will really help more people convert to a longer term ownership of electric vehicles. From a marketing point of view, you can already see a bias to advertising around plug-in hybrids and electric vehicles. And it's not just about the TV adverts. Another Volkswagen example would be our global sponsorship of the UEFA Euro 2020 tournament in the summer. And that paid real dividends for us in terms of driving awareness of our Way to Zero strategy, and also the ID3 and the ID4 product range. We saw website inquiries shoot up through each match and when the games are live, but also it has sustained at a higher level due to that increased awareness around that product being available as well. And it certainly helped by the tiny football car bringing the ball onto the pitch, the mini ID4. And so once the consumer then reaches the retailer's doors, we know that they may have already made up their mind and be ready to purchase, but we also know that they could be quickly put off if a salesperson is ill-informed. And it's really important, therefore, that all manufacturers are providing highly comprehensive training for our network staff on the product, but also that end-to-end ownership as well, including things like home charging. So plenty that I think we can be doing and should be doing, and it's much more than just delivering great products. It's absolutely that collective responsibility around helping the transition and making it easy and enjoyable for consumers along the way.
Thank you so much, Sarah. I loved that little car, by the way, during the Euros. I thought it was brilliant. And it's really interesting what you say about marketing, because I can't remember the last time I saw an advert on the telly in the cinema, to be honest, a billboard advert for an ICE vehicle. Every advert these days from any manufacturer seems to be either full electric or hybrid. And that's a question that's come through to us. Advertising is a major driver of consumer demand. Does VW have a plan to phase out ICE advertising? Do you do any ICE advertising still?
We do a bit, to be honest, and of course we have such a wide portfolio of products still within market, but I think the reality is that will shift and become more and more dominant by our electric product offering, and because that is the future in terms of the new product launches that we have. So this year about 50% is probably electric vehicles, and that will grow and grow as the portfolio grows as well.
Great question here. VW has some of the most iconic vehicles in the world, including the Beetle and the microbus. Now, you made an electric prototype of the Type 2 microbus in 2019, but as far as we know, there are no production plans. So a lot of people are asking, are you going to start mass producing electric versions of the classics?
So I think what they're referring to is the ID Buzz. which caused a great storm when that came out. And yes, the ID. Buzz will go into production, a passenger car version, and like the camper van and the cargo version as well, and that will come late next year.
Oh, that will excite a lot of people, I know, won't it? So they won't have to do their own homegrown, homemade electrifications, which I know a lot of people do as well. This one here, as an EV driver, it seems to me the main sticking point is down to infrastructure. Now, I know that that's something we've addressed with our other panelists, but it is such an important part of this discussion. It's worth reading this question. The cars are already amazing, says this person. Does VW have any plans to get more directly involved in the design and manufacturing of chargers along the lines of what Tesla has done?
Yeah, so we do have our own charging points for homes at the Ellie chargers. That will come back into the market in the UK next year. We have it in the European markets. And obviously we have partnerships like BP for more public charging.
Right. And this one here, does VW have any plans to expand into other types of e-mobility? Because we don't just talk about private car hire these days. So e-bikes, e-scooters and so on.
Yeah, so as a group, we definitely are getting involved in that. You can see the future of the e-scooters definitely will help with the congested city problems, for example. So in Seat, for example, they have already started launching their electric scooter. I think it's the Seat EXS. And the Volkswagen brand is looking to get active in that field as well. So we talked about the city skater, and that will come with various markets over the next few years as well. So no definite dates around the UK, but yes, as a group, at a global level, we do see an opportunity there to help with particularly like congestion in the cities.
And somebody sent a question. I'll just address this very quickly because I think it's really important, interesting, because I've had experience of this myself, about the knowledge of dealers and in dealerships and how much they know about electric vehicles. Now, I've been through 2 EVs actually secondhand. I would go to a secondhand car dealership and I would tell them all about the car and what I knew I had to look out for and what it did and how it behaved. Now, I don't have experience of buying one new, but I know that there is, when I've just ask questions, if I've been in a garage forecourt, I know there's a big gap in knowledge amongst a lot of the staff at these dealerships. Is that something you're addressing?
Yes, absolutely. And so when we launched new products, like when we brought ID3 into the market last year, we had really in-depth digital experience training for all of the network staff. So not just the sales teams, it should be everybody within the network, the same with technical training as well. But that's an always on. It's not just when we bring the model into the market. We obviously update that each time there's a new model. But yes, there's an always on program of electric training. But it is vital, and that whole experience in the showroom has to be amazing. And consumers can get to so much research themselves online, and we have a job to do to make sure that knowledge level is the same within our retailers.
Brilliant, exciting to hear about what you might do in the future. Thank you very much, Sarah.